Okay, it's 7:01. We'll call the March 14th regular council meeting to order for the Village of Northport. Roll call will show that trustee Ager is attending via Zoom. All other trustees are here in person, along with the village manager, clerk, and treasurer. Second item here we have is the approval of the council meeting minutes from February 8th. These were in the packets.
Move for approval of council meeting minutes, February 8th, regular meeting as presented.
Second. Moved by Barb, supported by Will, to approve the meeting minutes of February 8th as presented. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nays? All right, so they are approved. Next comes item 3, approval of the agenda amendments additions. Changes to that.
We did have a modified agenda distributed. We have tonight. Right. Right.
Oh, infrastructure and
Yeah,
planning commission. Okay,
there were some additional reports.
I've seen that now.
Yeah.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
So
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, brings us to public comment. Welcome to speak. 5 minutes for public comments, I believe. And if you'd like to be recognized, raise your hand in Zoom or in person. Carl?
This is hard when I listen at home. It's
Yeah,
hard.
come on.
My name is Carl Wazinski. I live at 107 Park Drive. And I'd like to ask this council to consider a public hearing regarding the social district. One of the reasons I'm recommending this is 3 years ago, about this month, some of you, not many of you, made a decision for a consent judgment to replat downtown. I believe that was a decision that was made without a lot of research, without a public hearing. And I believe that the results were pretty expensive around everyone. I also believe that because the documentation, which was so well done, by your manager came out yesterday, not everyone has had a chance to read it. There has been no documentation like this with the detail prior to yesterday. I see there's many people online, but I don't see many, in fact, 1, 2, 3 people here in the audience. I think this is a major decision for the council. I believe that just like last week, when you had the 7th Street public hearing here, last week.
Yep.
I thought it went very well. I like the format of that. And I think something similar to that should be done right here. Again, for this particular social district. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl.
Hello.
Yeah, Jay Weber.
Okay, this is John Weber, 603 South Shore Drive. My sentiments echo what Carl just presented. I think the social district is going to change the personality of Northport significantly. And I think because of that, it warrants a public hearing on its own and a little bit more information shared with the general public. I think I may be wrong, but my impression is this is primarily driven by commercial interests. And, I think it just needs to be looked at and presented in a little bit more detail than what I've seen put out there. One other comment, not related to that, is I was having trouble locating the documentation for tonight's meeting and the resolutions. Is there a way that that can be attached to the calendar link or someplace else? It was not apparent to me as to where to find those things. So with that, I'll be quiet.
Thanks, John. Ann, I see a hand up there. Anne.
Good evening. Thank you all for your service. As usual, I have a great respect for the hard work that you do. I would echo some of the already mentioned sentiments that the public has had very little time for input based on the new outlines, management plan, maps, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that giving the public a little bit more time to digest this, and also when more people are in town, would be very helpful. I did send in a letter and I listed some questions. I hope that those questions might get answered tonight in your discussion. I will gladly anticipate your addressing each one of them. There are 11 of them. Some of them overlap a little bit, but I think that they're all important and relevant. And I've seen some other letters in the Dropbox that raise some similar concerns and questions. I do think that there are lots of debates about what brings economic vitality to a community. And I'm not sure that a social district is our only option. I think there are lots of other things, some of them in the works, some of them perhaps yet to be explored, that could have as positive an effect without the negative effects that I anticipate with a social district. So I hope you'll take your time and deliberate with a great deal of care. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Yep, Mike.
Yeah, Mike Stoffel, 654 Mill Street. On this social district, I've got one question, it's probably got to be answered by a lawyer. But let's say you guys agree to the social district. Let's say somebody's walking around town carrying their little toddy, and somehow they get hit by some, either golf cart, car, whatever. Can they come back at the village and sue the village because the village okayed it?
Would you like me to answer that?
Sure.
Sure,
Ken.
why not?
Are you going to answer all the questions that have been raised or just one person's?
We'll wait till the discussion then. Sure, no problem.
Okay,
You can
that's
vote
fair
on-
with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I thought Ann was done, that's why I said.
Yep. Any other public comment?
Barbara Weber.
Hi, Barbara Weber, 603 South Shore Drive. I support Carl's idea of the public hearing. As I've read today, I do not support a social district. I'm concerned about the security. I'm concerned about bathrooms. I'm concerned about people walking around with open booze, walking down. It said that Bay Street was included, which means obviously around by the park. And not too long ago, a quote appeared in print by one of the trustees that the best place to drink in Leelanau County was Northport. And I really wonder if you want to be, or if we want to be known by that tagline. I support a public hearing. I do not support the resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to correspondence. As Ann noted herself, she and other members of the public submitted letters both for and against the social district. Did the clerk have any other correspondence or management?
I did have a phone call from Ann Harper, who thought that she would not be able to attend tonight, but she was able to speak for herself. So I will not have to relay that message.
Great.
And also talk to me.
Wow.
Anna,
What about you?
yeah,
Oh.
And
you don't-
and me.
Susan.
oh, interesting, okay, then we'll have the clerk's report then, I guess.
So this month it's, clerk and treasurer's report, so you have our bill sheet, which, we've been working on training. Our new treasurer, Diana Simons, is with us today. She started on February 19th, and, yesterday we worked on reconciling, well, we've been working on multiple tasks, but, we reconciled the months of January and February. That's represented in your cash transaction report and the bill sheet tonight, that we've prepared, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that anyone may have.
No, okay, nothing for the clerk. Thanks, Joni. Move on to the treasurer, Diana.
Been working a lot with Joni, learning a lot, realizing I have a bit more to go. So, yeah, we just finished this up, and so that's what we have.
Yeah. More to come.
More to come.
Enjoying the job so far?
Yes.
All right, excellent. DPW, the report was in the packet. Chris is on Zoom. If anybody has anything, the marina work, the Hazard Park work looks great already.
Yeah, it is.
So kudos to that. And I did text Chris last week when I saw the red truck come through town, so got our new truck. A couple of years late, but it's here. And almost
Okay.
probably paid for it at this point.
Hey, guys, thank you for that. Sorry, I got booted out there for a second.
Probably
Anyways, yeah, the new truck, as I said in my DPW report, is well, it's a gem. So we're very appreciative to have it. And as you said, we started at Hazrat Park, and it's going well. Hope to wrap that up probably next week, mid next week. So, any questions?
Good report.
Thanks, Chris. Marina, Bill, that was in the packet as well.
Yeah.
Bill, okay. Anything to report, Bill, other than what was in there? It looks like the slips are coming back and people want to keep their spot on the waiting list.
It's been a kind of, well, my report says a typical winter, but as it's turned out, not such a typical winter. It's I actually had a couple of calls of people wanting to get in early this year. So we'll see how this goes. The water is way down. Still looking for some solutions there. Chris and I will be chatting next week about some ideas there for the low water levels. But if anybody has any questions, I'm here to happy to answer them.
Bill, could you explain the lighthouse boat tours? Are they going to be running a business in our marina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got a commercial, so.
Yes, they were approved last year and approved the waterfront committee approved it, the village council approved it, and then it had to go to the Michigan Waterways Commission for final approval. But they didn't get their boat in last year. They ended up, I forget what the problem was, if it was an engine problem, something. But they've resolved that, and that boat, you may have even seen it. It's been on Facebook a couple of times. This Coast Guard launch, this old Coast Guard launch. It's a beautiful boat. We're going to try and put him into slip number 55, which is right down by the gazebo. Real easy access to the parking lot for visitors and tourists there. Hoping for some good things.
Okay, great.
And-
Yeah, the other thing is blessing of the fleet.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the Northport Bay Yacht Club at all to see if they wanna?
Sure. I had somebody reach out, Lisa DeGroot reached out to me. And Lisa is with the museum and told me about that. And they're sort of, when they get things decided and sort of a schedule in place and a timeline, then I'm gonna reach out to all of our seasonal boaters and let them know when that's gonna be and when that blessing of the fleet's going to happen. Yes,
Nice.
kind of
Um,
exciting. It would be nice if
yeah.
it turned to an annual event, actually.
Just FYI, as we gather here, there's a Zoom going on about the history of that little boat that's going to be, it looks like a little boat to me, maybe it's bigger, that's going to be giving the tours this summer.
That's right. It's on right now at 7 o'clock. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you noted in the report, I was gonna bring it up at the meeting, but this is Northport's 175th anniversary, so, sounds like there might be a little thing to do down there. I remember the sesquicentennial 1999, George Anderson was down there and did a nice long presentation of the ritual. He read the first account of James McLaughlin, who was on the ship that came into the harbor, so it's a couple pages. Anyway, any other
Yeah,
questions for Bill? Sorry to get us off track. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you all.
Village manager report?
I provided you with a written report and a copy is in the Dropbox for anybody that, in the public that would like to review it. And I'd certainly be willing to answer any questions, both, after the meeting and by phone. Any of the public has specific questions about that. A couple just high points that I'll indicate that you may not have heard about. The again, I was asked to serve on the Peninsula Housing Board of Directors, which I think will be a good means of trying to attain our goal of workforce or attainable housing in the village and beyond. So. A couple things, we did get some additional funding, not us, but our partner in the rain gardens got some additional funding. So there's going to be some sprucing up of the existing garden on High Street, the placement of a couple additional gardens in the marina parking lot, and some flowers around the flowers and other plantings around those new gardens. And we'll probably see that. That's something that'll probably be presented to you at the next meeting. So all of the items on item A through E are potential things that'll be on the agenda of a future meeting. Beyond that, unless there's any questions by the village council. That's my report.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
If they plant all the flowers and stuff, will our maintenance person take care of them and then, or will they be responsible for them?
that's, I'm sure groundskeeper.
Yeah,
because
we
it's just
normally-
for the plant.
Yeah.
I know, I just wondering.
We normally keep track of that.
Okay, anything for Jim other than that? Okay, brings us to committee reports. Jane, finance? It was in,
Yeah, we had, a meeting, yesterday. And the minutes are not ready yet, but just to highlight, we went over, the process that we'd like to follow. As we prepare the budget annually, to align with our new fiscal year. And we're going to be asking committees to, really get busy in listing projects that need to go onto an overall list. So that the finance committee can have a tentative budget at our April meeting. So that means the March committee meetings will be asking you to provide information on upcoming projects and any detail you have. The budget will be prepared by the staff, the department leaders, and then it will be presented to the finance committee in April. Going forward, we would like to have that much advanced timeline so that we can have a hearing no later than June for a July 1 adoption.
I can add that typically what I like to do is prepare essentially the first draft of a budget. It's a deficit budget. Because we include everything that we would hope to do in this next fiscal year, either capital or operational or whatever. So if there's something you would like to see in this coming fiscal year, get information to us about that, and we will include that. And then when we consider the essentially a deficit budget, we look at what it is that that's being proposed. Is it something that is worthy of using fund balance? Is it something that, and what is our fund balance level? Which we'll know, shortly. And then what could be removed? So obviously, our goal is ultimately a balanced budget, but I think it's helpful to start with, instead of saying, well, we can't afford that. Let's put everything that we'd like to do into the budget and pare it away from there. We also talked about the possibility of having that committee renamed the budget committee, with its primary task being to, monitor the budget perhaps on a quarterly basis, and then to essentially approve the process for adopting the budget in the next fiscal year.
This is finance?
Yeah,
Budget?
renaming it the budget committee.
I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
So we talked about the fact that we had been reviewing and revising policies, which really is administrative work. And now that we have a full staff that can be, that can reside with the people who are administering the village. And so that would allow us to focus on budget and budget amendment. So.
I am hearing you need to speak up from the public. They can't hear you again.
Okay.
And then any of that policy would then come to the council, so
Yeah,
it still have
yeah.
to be approved here.
Like, no, that's a good.
Kind of streamline things a little bit.
Got it.
Anything else? Jane?
No,
Anything else? Sorry.
No, that was
Okay.
it.
All right, thank you. Infrastructure, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, my report is in the Dropbox. There's a couple things I could touch on. I guess we talked about the wind turbine site, and that is still being followed up on by the staff, communicating and flushing out what needs to happen there, with clearing the remainder of the tower. I'm working on the electric car chargers, the sponsors for that. There's 6 so far that I have, and I think there's gonna be more. It's just following back up with everybody. The capital improvement plan, last meeting, which was actually this month, but at the beginning of the month, have a compiled list of all the CIP projects from PC and the asset review. So that's kind of going from there, and we'll be next meeting later this month or next week, I guess, working on prioritizing the list for finance. Then they're still following up for the Old Mill Pond and dam with Eagle, and we're looking at potentially having a discussion on that in our May meeting, based on they're being able to get back and forth with Robin and working that out. And then the sidewalk ordinance, we're gonna look at a draft, I think next meeting maybe, and then have that here for council maybe in April or May, so.
All right, any questions for Laura?
Laura, what is the sidewalk ordinance? Remind me.
The sidewalk ordinance was adopted in like 1950s, yeah, I think it's 1957, but it's very, very old, and it has a lot of stuff that isn't actually what we do and refers to things that don't exist, like a sidewalk committee and stuff like that. So we would like to repeal that and replace it with what we're actually doing, and Jim is writing the language for that for us, so that it actually reflects what's happening and is actually talking about our committees.
Sounds good. That's enough. Thank you.
All right, let's see, planning commission, back to Jane.
Yep, the minutes did get into Dropbox. And the last planning commission meeting was devoted to public hearing on the amended zoning ordinance. The planning commissioners are making some suggestions or recommendations to the full council that are outlined in detail in the minutes. So when we get the final version of the zoning ordinance back from the consultant, so that we have a table of contents and page numbers and all of the niceties, it will be presented to the council, and if you will familiarize yourself with the minutes from our last planning commission meeting, you'll be prepared to see what the recommendations are coming that would make minor changes or suggestions that you might want to refer some things back to the planning commission for further study.
Jane, just a quick question. You said it was a public hearing on changes to the zoning rules.
Yes.
Can I ask how many people attended that? About?
Or not during the audience.
20,
Maybe 20.
around 20.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, we had, I think about 10 people here in person and additional who attended virtually.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
There were a lot of questions too.
Yeah.
It was not just like, here's the hearing and then it closed. It was long.
And I think the minutes reflect
Yeah.
some of the key points that were made.
Okay. Next up, NLTUA. No written report, but Jim touched on it in his manager report a little bit. The NLTUA approved contracts for village and township to provide services rather than directly employing the staff. The village did just receive its first reimbursement payment from the loan for $28,000 from the NLTUA. And our first quarterly billing of the new rate that we got from our rate study went out this last quarter, right?
Go out in April.
Oh, it goes out in April. Okay, sorry, I'm a month back. Any other questions? Okay. Brings us to our discussion and potential action items. First up is consider establishing a village social district. Before I get started, I do just want to address what actually is legally allowed in the village in terms of alcohol consumption. Because I don't believe we have any ordinances not permitting it, right now, alcohol consumption is legal in any public park, place of amusement, or parking lot. And by public, it means, city, township, county, village. So right now, someone could go into any business that sells capped alcohol, so a bar or Deeps or Tom's, and they could buy a beer or wine bottle that would be capped, and they could then carry it down to Hazard Park, open it, and legally consume that. That doesn't need to be patrolled or anything. That's what makes Friday night and Friday, music in the park allowable. So that is currently what is permitted. What we're sort of looking from the social district in terms of is starting small by allowing these businesses, it would exclude Tom's and Deeps. It would allow the businesses listed in the maintenance plan to apply. They are not included automatically. They have to apply to the state to be able to sell. It would be for them to sell an open, so like a plastic cup of beer or something like that, and then do the same thing. They could transport it. Now, consumption would be illegal in the streets, but it would be permitted on the sidewalk. So a guy someone could get a beer from the mitten, sit at the Lions Club bench under the tree there next to yard or find while someone shopped, and that would be totally permissible under the social district. And I think that's what we're looking to start with. The idea of the plan that had the map needs to be redone because those common areas are not going to be there. And Hazarat Park, the Marina Pavilion, those do not need to be defined as common areas because alcohol is already permissible in those areas. They can be included in the social district, so those drinks could be then taken down there. And in terms of some of Ann's questions, you know, in terms of research, you know, there's a lot of research out there. And I've done mine, and I know that people are looking for us to provide some, but I think it's pretty accessible. But like, you know, why does the social district need to be occur 7 days a week, 11 hours a day? I have a survey. This is from Washtenaw and Oakland counties, where 18 of their 20 operated 7 days a week, 2 only operated on the weekends. When it talks about what the benefits are, it says increased consumer traffic, business retention and attraction, quality of life, tourism. Some of the challenges it does talk about are, you know, promotion, cleaning up, you know, but it also says that it's been great for events and encouraging people to utilize our downtown district. And I think by creating the social district, it would eliminate some of the issues that the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department has with the way we operate Leelanau Uncaged also, because that is an issue. And they did address that last year. So again, I know that there's concerns about turning Northport into New Orleans and Mardi Gras, but I actually don't think that this is what it's intended for. And I don't see it being used this way in other communities like Petoskey, Alden, East Jordan, Boyne City, Manistee, Ludington. I mean, these are all communities in our region, all of varying size. You know, Alden only supports 2 businesses with their social district, but it's 2 businesses. And I think that's part of our job here, is to listen to the businesses and find what we can do to help support them. If they come to us with something, it's our duty to look into it. And I think we did that last year, and we're taking another look at it again now. So I would open the discussion up to anybody who has concerns or comments for Jim. Jim has experience with this, and Marshall. So I saw your hand up first, Hugh.
Well, as much as I support this, what are our thoughts as far as having a public hearing on law?
I wouldn't want to delay it. So I wouldn't want to delay it any longer than April if we were to do that, because it takes time the resolution only allows us to, it's one part of the application process. The resolution is part 1. Part 2 is the map defining the areas, and part 3 is the maintenance plan that was provided. So it talks about the hours, the trash. That doesn't mean it's going to be approved. The state still has to okay the maintenance plan and everything like that. So with time sensitivity, you know, if we're looking at doing this for the long haul, I guess it doesn't matter. But
And so you would say we'd also reevaluate the map, because in looking at the map that was proposed to us now, it goes right past Laura's place all the way down to Bay Street. A lot of that is private property. So
private property. This. Oh, the blue area. Yeah, the common areas. Yeah, those common areas are going to be taken. Yeah, that's, I'm going to need to have Daniel redo the map for me, because he did that the first time.
That kind of addresses one of the questions I had, because in reading through the management and maintenance plan, businesses that sell food but don't have a liquor license cannot permit any alcohol consumption. And the way the map was drawn, it looked like around the corner and New Bohemian were within the common area, and they would not be, people would not be allowed to go into those private businesses with alcohol.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not allowed to bring outside. Almost no businesses allow outside alcohol.
And I think that policing that could be challenging for the business owners when they're right in the middle of the defined social district.
Yeah.
I would agree with Jane. My concern rate is twofold, I think, on this issue. One is, what's it gonna cost the village with extra DPW time? And we really don't have an enforcement officer. The sheriff's office is here once in a while, right, in a car. and circulating around. So that leaves Jim to enforce it. And that's, you know, interesting. The other, you know, so there are businesses, we already have a huge crowd that comes in the summer, right? And if this is gonna draw more huge crowds, people are very busy in their businesses, and I totally get the idea that the businesses might do better if they could take care of their customers and let them out the door to go somewhere else. And that's good because we don't have the personnel to manage those businesses. On the other hand, they also have to now police people from coming into their establishment when they're not in the social district. And what about, you know, I mean, there's gonna be trash everywhere, that kind of thing. Traverse City has had no end of problems with drinking in public, you know, through COVID and beyond.
Traverse City does not have a social district.
They do not. And still they have problems with it. And, you know, we have a lot of bars already. So, I mean, I think there are issues to talk through here. I'm sorry this is coming here in March when really it should probably have come in January or last year, but I don't think a rush to do this without public comment would be a good idea.
Go ahead, Will.
All right, well, to follow up on that, the Traverse City doesn't have a social district in the, you know, the problems. I personally read this and I'm like, I don't see a huge change in what's already happening. And I don't see this as something that people are going to flock to Northport for because they can carry a cocktail down the street on the sidewalk to get to music in the park. To me, this is hardly anything worth getting upset about. Also, I mean, it's not, I don't see it having hardly any impact at all. If it is impactful in a negative way, we can repeal it, you know, in a second. But the other thing I'd like to point out is, you know, people want data and evidence, and, you know, every town is different. Nothing's going to apply to this town. None of that data is going to be relevant. It works great in some places. It may not have worked in other places. Everything's anecdotal. And if you don't try things, you never know if they're going to work. I mean, the first Friday nights in music in the park, people, I'm sure there was opposition. Oh my gosh, the noise. Oh my gosh, the crowds. What about the parking? Well, we tried it, and guess what? It's one of the favorite things people have about Northport. Leelanau Uncaged. Oh my God, you're going to shut the whole town down for a whole day, close all the streets? Well, it turns out to be one of the best things we've ever done. If we'd have had public hearings about all this stuff, there's a chance none of it would have happened. Secondly, you get elected to this board to make decisions. This is not a monumental decision. This is like a traffic change, in my opinion. People are already carrying their cocktails down the sidewalk, folks. Go to music in the park. They're walking into Hazard Park with open beers and showing up, you know, jumping out of their cars with their Yeti cup full of a mixed drink. It's already going on, and this just takes the stress off, and it defines what's legal and illegal, takes the stress off the poor police department who don't know who to arrest and who not to, because we've been doing this for a long time. And frankly, there haven't really been any major issues. This is not going to create drunks sleeping in doorways and waking up every morning like the day after the homecoming game at MSU. I mean, this is not going to impact this. You're not even going to notice, is what I'm saying. And I think we can make this decision and make it tonight and sleep just fine about it. So I'm in favor of passing it. And I think all that hand wringing and pearl clutching is just save it for something important, because this really is not a big deal.
Oh, Susan.
Well, I'd like to know where the money is in this. I mean, who's going to benefit from this? I'd also,
Businesses.
Well, the business owners want it. I think we owe it to them.
well, we haven't heard from Kevin Murphy, who doesn't sell alcohol, but who is, what was that?
Kevin did speak last year. Kevin and Daniel and I had a conversation this winter, a pretty lengthy discussion with Amy at the golf course. And again, this is for businesses to participate in if they want. We're only making this allowable. Nobody has to be a part of this. But somebody may be a part of it and say, wow, I'm tired of seeing that guy's cups go by all night. I better apply for this because he's making some more money or she's making more money. I mean, in the
Okay,
surveys,
I'd also,
talked about- Go ahead.
Chris, I'd also suggest that Laura recuse herself since she stands to benefit from this.
No, she doesn't.
I'm not sure how I would benefit because I
Because
don't.
you have
liquor
great
license.
food, you have great food and open tables and no
But people
alcohol.
can't come in with alcohol to the business. I mean, we already have to police that just because people
Oh.
could go to Deeps and Tom's, and that is a question that we get.
Oh, I didn't know
They go,
that.
"You
I
can't
I
do
thought
that."
people could bring alcohol to your
No.
place. I'm
No, they
sorry.
cannot, and we'd have to tell people that frequently. Even here in the winter, I've had, since we've opened the inside, had to tell people that they can't bring alcohol in.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
Laura.
that's okay.
Okay, one other issue, it seems unfair to Tom's that people can't walk in, buy a beer at Tom's and walk out onto the street with it, or Deeps. And I just have, I have lots of questions about it. Unlike Will, I think publicity of this and just talk among people, I don't think we need more traffic in the summer. I think we've got lots of crowds. We don't have to lure people to our downtown. Our whole town is our downtown. I have lots of reservations, and I'm not sure we need a public hearing, but I certainly would like to see this tabled until I can be back in April and vote.
I'm just gonna tell you, not one business owner in this town is gonna say no to more traffic.
Yeah.
That we cannot think of Northport as this town that we're gonna turn traffic away from because we don't want them here. The businesses, every business, not just the business that is applying for this, but the businesses that serve food, the businesses that sell clothes, the businesses that sell golf. We need every person that we can get to come through here. And so by promoting our community in ways that attract people, not saying, hey, show up to Northport and get drunk. Hey, Northport has a social district. What's that like? And we promote it in a way that actually is appealing to people. Did anybody just read that Hop Lot was ranked the #2 beer garden in the country by
Yes.
USA Today? And we have people wondering whether or not alcohol is a promotional tool with all the wine tours and people using alcohol for the Starry Night Arts Association fundraiser. I mean, alcohol is a tool and an avenue for people to use and promote in effective and ways that are done appropriately. And I think this could be an opportunity to maybe do that rather than say, oh, we're just going to let willy-nilly with the golf course say, no, we're going to put something in place that actually defines it and we're going to hold people to it. And if Jim Kiesel, under sheriff, is willing to support it with his law enforcement like he said he would, that way people know. If the deputy comes through town and he sees some guy walking through the street taking a sip, boom, they'll know to pull him over and give him a ticket. And then people will know not to do that. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
I wonder how many tickets the sheriff's department has given in the last 5 years, say, regarding alcohol in Northport. I mean, it might be just it might be something that doesn't even need, we just let it be the way it is.
Well, that's kind of like saying, when nobody was really getting in trouble for driving golf carts where they weren't supposed to, and, you never know. And so if I think this does make it black and white, and you do want that. You don't want people just violating the law because it's not enforced. I think that it gives, like I said, it gives the law enforcement a bright line to follow. And it's not discretionary. Like, well, why'd you stop me for having my beer open and you didn't stop 50 other people? And so if they're in the proper cup, then and they're on the sidewalk and they're doing following all the rules, then we have bright lines for law enforcement to follow. Right now, it's a muddled mess. But like I said, I really don't see this becoming Mardi Gras or New Orleans or
Forever City.
anything other than it is now, except for it'll make things legal. And honestly, I haven't heard any business owners step up against this. Kevin did it first, but I've heard he's had a change of heart.
Yeah, I talked to him today.
Yeah, and
I'd be interested in what
so
Kevin
I
said.
haven't heard of a single business owner against this. We have two sitting here at the table. I'm in favor of it. I don't sell alcohol, but I'm not worried about people trying to bring beer into my establishment or anything like that. We have to, actually, it's never really been an issue. I'm not even sure if they can bring a beer into my store.
I mean, that's what I mean. Most businesses don't allow outside food or drink in their businesses anyway. I don't think the Pennington collection would let a kid walk in there with an ice cream cone. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
We've done that
But-
at our peril.
Yeah.
Hugh,
But no, I think if the business community wants it, we owe it to them to give it a try, and time is of the essence. You know, we don't have time to sit and kick this around for 3 months. We have things that need to be approved. These things have to go to the liquor board and there's other stuff that has to happen. We're kind of, you know, at the deadline now. And so it
Okay.
takes a long time to get started. We can shut it off overnight if it's a problem. So I honestly do not see the risk, and I implore this council not to drag their feet on this and just get this done. It's a simple thing. It is not going to change the character of the town one iota. I'm sure of it.
Hugh, can you share what Kevin Murphy's thoughts are now?
I talked to him today and he's not against this.
Okay, okay. So can I bring wine from home and drink it on the street with my friends who are buying cocktails from Fingers Crossed?
No, but you could drink it in the Pavilion Park.
Yep.
The Pavilion Park is an area where people. can-
Right, I got it,
The
I
street,
got it.
the street, the sidewalks, no streets, the sidewalks are the only
Okay.
areas where it would be permissible in the plastic cup with the social
The
district.
label, right,
That-
I
that's
got it.
gonna be like the size of a moon. So people
Okay.
know what is right and what's wrong.
Okay,
I would ask
We-
for one thing, one addition though, I didn't see if it was in there or not, but I've had more than one person say, okay, if we're gonna do all these plastic cups, can we use a compostable plastic or some kind of biodegradable plastic? They're out there, they're not that much more expensive.
Ours are, all of our stuff's compostable, but it looks normal.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so it's out there.
I mean, it's super,
And, yeah, all right, so
that may be a good addition
Yeah.
to indicate that all the people who participate should use it's the
Yeah,
same
well,
product
no,
lawyer
yeah.
uses. Or similar.
Oh, your question about if somebody
Yeah.
falls into the street, can we get sued?
No.
Well, when you ask that question of a lawyer, you're gonna get 3 answers, but the answer is yes, you can be sued for anything.
Successful.
I used to tell clients, there are 2 things that make a lawsuit. That's a $40 filing fee, which is now $200, and a fool. That's what makes a lawsuit. But in terms of whether there's real liability that can arise from it, the answer is no. Liability for an automobile accident that occurs on the road, the municipal liability is based upon its jurisdiction over the road. Currently, we don't have jurisdiction over was it 201, right?
201.
201, we don't have jurisdiction over that. Those roads we do have jurisdiction over, the sole source of liability for a municipality is that it has a design defect of the road. Not that it allowed somebody to buy alcohol somewhere else and by some circumstance, they become injured as a result of someone else's negligence. So the answer to that would be no. Some of the other questions that were asked, a lot of them have been addressed in the discussion. Perhaps not to everyone's satisfaction, but for example, who will enforce the regulations surrounding the consumption of alcohol on the sidewalks and in the parks and parking lot? The primary function or the primary enforcer, frankly, is the licensed beverage owner. They're the ones that has to issue the drink in a social district cup, and at the time they do that, determine that person is not visibly intoxicated. You cannot a licensed a licensee cannot serve somebody that's visibly intoxicated. It's against the law. They can't serve somebody that's underage. It's against the law. All those things will apply in this instance. Why does it need to be 7 days? I don't know. I think that's what the business people would like. Does it need to be 11 hours? I don't know. That could potentially that could potentially be changed. There's nothing in the statute that says it has to be that period of time. I think 10 o'clock, 10 PM was selected as the time to stop sales. Just because, you know, if you're gonna have sales after 10 PM, it should occur at the licensed beverage location. How much will the signage and additional trash receptacles cost the village? The management plan provides for the licensed beverage participants to actually pay that cost. They're required by the management plan to have a trash receptacle immediately outside their door to take those cups that are going to be discarded, for example. I don't know that we can really effectively answer how much time will the Department of Public Works spend on daily cleanup of trash. But if that becomes a problem, again, as Will says, this is something that we can eliminate if it becomes a problem.
Or modify, because if trash is a problem and it's taking too much time, I don't see why that could then be, we have to go back to the businesses and say, we're having issues with this. We need to, you're helping supply and cover the cost of the trash. What else, you know, we might need to do more than that. I mean, I don't think that nothing is inflexible. I mean, it can go from there.
There's a question what does the village council think alcohol is more enhancing to enjoying Northport than soda pop or ice cream cones? I don't think it's an either or proposition. Frankly, if there was a state law that permitted the easy purchase of soda pop and ice cream cones, I would be coming to you to ask you to adopt a policy that permits that. I mean, the one thing that I'm going to miss this summer is ice cream in Northport. And in Sutton's Bay, apparently, it sounds like, but regardless.
Yeah.
You know, I would admit we have not, the question is, do other retail stores want more visitors holding open cups of alcohol inside their stores? Admittedly, we have not polled those stores, but as has already been indicated, they have every right to, and currently do, prohibit people from bringing any, drinks, food, whatever, into their stores. I really can't speak to what it communicates to our children that the only way adults can have fun is with a drink in hand. That's definitely a loaded question, but I raised my kids with a drink in my hand on occasion. And walking around parks.
I don't think you need to answer everything in there. It ends with, why don't we supply free ice cream to anybody who comes to Northport? I don't think all those points are serious.
Sure, you'll increase
Trying to
the
do the
diabetes.
ones that I know.
That's what I said. I said, we don't want to increase diabetes and obesity, so, that was still now.
Yeah, Laura's got something to say here.
Yeah, I've been trying to get it in, but I mean, I agree with lots of the thoughts that have been shared. To me, some of the things that I feel like are important to point out is that, I mean, the state does allow this and there are a lot of places doing it, and there aren't all these communities saying, oh my gosh, we regret this and revoking it. Even if there are, like Will said, that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen here. We've even had a social district before during COVID, and I know it wasn't as big and everything else, but there were some people who were really concerned about that, and those things didn't happen either. I also think that it's important to think about the fact, or maybe distinguish for people, that it doesn't mean that you can suddenly be drunk and disorderly in the sidewalk. Exactly. That's not what it means. Like, that is still illegal. And if people are doing that, you still can call the cops and they still can come. And I know people are concerned about the amount of cops we have in this area, but I can tell you with certainty that on movie nights, when it's very late, if there is someone that is an issue out in the street, I can call the cops and they do come very quickly. So I don't feel like we don't have a cop available if there are issues. And then someone had asked at public comment about the restrooms, and that was a question that had been asked previously. And we did follow up with the Williams and Bay
Lyndon?
with Linden, and we do have pricing on that, but I think that that's something that would be worked out if in the maintenance plan and figuring out if it's something that's happening, not something that needs to have a ton of time spent on when we don't know if we're doing it or not. But it is something that not only for this, but just bathrooms in general in the downtown area is a need that people have discussed. This isn't going to create that, you know, that need's already there. So I think that's something that is important for us to keep thinking about, but we are. So it's just not in there yet because it hasn't happened.
Just to clarify, I'm not opposed to the resolution. What I was concerned about is the map as presented and some clarification about the rules for establishments that don't have a liquor license so that it's prominently posted and very clear, no alcohol consumption beyond this point. So that there will still be a need, I'm sure, for Laura to have to explain to people, but at least as
It
part of
doesn't
the
matter how
signage.
many signs you put up, people won't read them. My 12-foot open sign is something people don't see, but while they're standing next to it. But I agree. I mean, I'm not opposed at all to putting up a sign that says no alcohol in this area. And I can't imagine Kevin would necessarily, I mean, he's a sign guy too. He's got signs for stuff. And so I don't think that the businesses who can't participate would be opposed to doing that, because we're gonna have to police it anyway. I mean, so.
Yeah, as
And we already do, like I said, we already do have to do that because we have outdoor seating. That is something that already is occurring, and we handle.
Do you think this would be an added burden?
No,
That's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, and as I recollect from Kevin told me last year even that he wasn't opposed to it, but he was concerned about it because they have such a nice set of picnic tables there that anybody can sit down at and, you know, drink whatever they want. I would feel better about this if we had, you know, a park with outdoor tables and chairs and, you know, like the lovely one in front of the New York Public Library, or, you know, places where people could walk outside with their drinks and sit and talk. And, but we really don't. I mean, unless you walk all the way to the bay. It's too bad that we haven't been able to recruit any of the business owners to let us use any of their private parking lots, but maybe in the future, I don't know.
We tried and we're working on it in the future. I think that's the idea, is that we start small and there may be expansion for a common area where there is, you know, cornhole and stuff and tables and umbrellas. That's more of a shared space, centrally located. But again, if we walk or crawl before we can walk, right? Let's start small and see if it works. And if it doesn't, we take it away. And if it does, we look at how we can continue to, you know, expand it as needed. So with that, unless there's any other discussion, there is a resolution in the packet. Let's see.
Next to it.
I got it right here.
Do you- Well, I will make a motion that we accept the resolution in the packet with amendments that we discussed tonight in terms of the map. Environmentally friendly cups. And do we want to talk about hours? It is currently what, noon to 10?
It's 11 to 10 right
11.
now, which would be the
Nobody's
operating.
open before noon anyway, really. I don't think anybody's serving alcohol.
Do you want to make it
We
one?
could do noon to 10. You want to do noon to 10?
Yeah, let's just do noon to 10 to,
Okay.
you know, keep on the good side of the, you know, we used to not be able to buy alcohol at all in Michigan until noon on Sundays, so. in that tradition, let's go noon to 10.
Okay.
It's in the management plan, but.
It's not in the resolution.
But the management plan is referenced in
Oh,
the
okay.
resolution, so you
Yeah.
can amend both in the
Okay,
same motion.
with the amendment of the
To the
other
management plan.
documents.
So that's the motion, if I can get support.
Yes, I'll second that.
All right, moved by Will, supported by Jane to approve the resolution supporting,
Nope, discussion.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
supporting the social district with the amended changes to the maintenance plan
And the map.
and the maps. Discussion.
So, yeah, so I just have a question on the management plan.
Mhm.
It says the chamber's gonna supply the cups first off. But I'm unaware that it's functioning, the chamber.
I think I think in another version, I changed that to the licensed beverage.
Okay,
holders.
the one that I have here says the chamber.
But we can indicate, remove any reference to the chamber if it's not particularly functioning as an entity.
Does that go into the motion now?
Yes, add that to the
Yes.
motion.
We'll consider that an amendment to the plan.
Okay, any other discussion?
Hello, Chris.
Yeah,
Listening to everyone speak and listening to Jim and listening to Will and listening to Jane and even listening to Hugh, I'm thinking that I'm the odd man out on this. I completely support our business owners, but
oh, you just muted yourself. Okay, there you go. You're
Oh.
back.
sorry, gosh, I don't know whether most business owners would want double what we have. I'm not sure this will attract more people. You're right, Will, probably nobody even knows about it. So I think if I were there, I would vote for the resolution. Keeping in mind that we can rescind it at any point if we run into trouble. So I don't know how we measure the trouble, but I don't want to run into trouble. I don't want ours to become a town that's known as a drinking town. I think most people want to retain the charm and the historic, the gentleness of our village, which I think is different than other villages on the peninsula. So I would reluctantly vote with you all on this, as long as we can repeal it if need be.
Any other discussion? Okay, so motion was made by Will, second by Jane, to approve the resolution, social district, and it will be amended, with Dr. Conley's,
The management.
Management plan.
For the chamber.
for the chamber to say licensed businesses. All right, let's do a roll call vote, starting with Jane.
Yes.
You,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
and yes.
Okay.
Motion passes.
I just pulled up the it does say Chamber of Commerce and for.
Okay,
So
okay,
it's covered.
okay. All right, thanks for the discussion, everybody. All right, next up, we have a resolution to explore a joint township village planning and housing commission to explore workforce housing. That resolution is in the packet as well.
Would you like me to give a background on that?
Yeah, that'd be great, Jim.
This resolution kind of comes out of a relatively lengthy discussions that Mike McMillan and I have been having about housing and what we've variously referred to as attainable or workforce housing and the need for that. I think we all recognize, I don't think there's a study that has not recognized the need for that type of housing. And the two things that Mike and I both did is we met with Josh Mills down in Frankfurt that has been involved for the past 20 years as city manager there, pursuing this effort. And some of the things that they suggested, you know, the one thing that's different about Frankfurt is they don't have the same relationship that we do as a village to a township. You know, they're a home rule city. They can do things by charter. They can do a lot of different things that we can't do. But a couple of the things that we can do is to create a joint planning commission that would be tasked with a review of areas that would be useful or possible for attainable housing. And combine that with a housing commission that would have the power, if the circumstances were appropriate, to even manage that if it was publicly owned property. Because one of the things that has been suggested to us is that that's where you're most likely, you know, because we actually own the land. We can determine its fate. And I just want to emphasize, we're not talking about 7th Street as the location for this, but there are other locations within the village and within the township that are being considered. The creation of this entity would permit us to have a group that explores that specifically. And the township has already, by a 5-0 vote, approved this idea. The only thing this obligates you to do, it does not create the housing authority, does not create it. It basically directs me to explore with the township, how would we do it? What would be the structure that entity would take? What would its membership entail? Things like that. It would probably require some work by our various legal counsel. So that's really what we're asking you to do, is to consider this as a means of pursuing attainable housing within the township and village. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, in talking with an individual today, that person explained the importance of doing this and why we should do it. And he also mentioned that with this in place, there would be easier to get grant monies and stuff available. Is that?
Yes, I don't know if it'd be easier, but it would be, you'd have an entity that would be their focus.
Yeah, okay.
And that would give us, you know, I think a leg up on those kind of opportunities.
Yep.
And as I indicated before, and I said in my report, both last month and this month, I really believe that a partnership with Housing North is going to be essential to this. And that's one of the things that this group could make recommendations to you. It would function very much like the planning commission, but be particularly tasked with the idea of pursuing attainable housing.
Question?
Yes.
According to the resolution, I believe this would also empower you within the budget to add FTEs should they be needed to carry out a plan.
That definitely was not my intent. It does. There is a provision that says is authorized to take any steps necessary within current budget constraints to accomplish this task. I don't anticipate that we will present a budget that will add any FTEs. So that would not be possible then. It would not be within a current budget constraint. Because one of the things that I've told you that I intend to present to you as part of the budget is not just a budget, but a staffing plan. It says this is how this staffing plan is, this is how this budget is carried out with this staffing plan. These salaries, these
Right. positions.
So no, it would not permit me to add an employee, for example. What I'm getting at there is if, for example, we were to allocate dollars to the creation, well, we budgeted whatever we budget for attorney fees, for example. I would be permitted to engage an attorney if necessary to pursue that. That's what that's all about. Definitely not to add.
Susan, I see your hand up.
Jim, would this housing commission have any authority, do you think, to discuss short-term rental regulations in our village or in our township?
Probably, well, we're setting up a committee to do that specifically.
Yes, I know, it hasn't happened though, so
Yeah.
I just thought maybe this might be a higher level authority to talk
That
about
would
that
not
stuff.
be, that would not be the intent to have, this would be, again, how are we going to actually do attainable housing? For example, would we, if it's property that's owned by the village or the township, would this be something where we would retain ownership of the property and the structures that are built, and then perhaps hire someone to manage it for us? Would we do that? Would we enter, we already have an entity in Peninsula Housing that has a land trust. And one of the first things, well, not one of the first things, but one of the things that Frankfurt did was create their own 501c3 organization that functions as a community land trust, much like Peninsula. We already have that in the community. We don't have to duplicate it, but this group could then potentially recommend to you and the township to enter into contracts with them to do, to construct whatever housing we're going to do. My personal feeling is, well, I really would prefer the idea. I like the Peninsula model where the housing is owned rather than rented. But it's also managed in a way that preserves it as attainable housing, because it limits the way to whom and how much the owner of that house can sell it for. As Larry Mobby says, Peninsula has a wonderful business model. They buy high and sell low. How do they do that? Well, and it's through grants and excuse me, and that sort of thing. But they do that so they can retain that housing in that category rather than have it sold once to a workforce family and then never again. I also prefer it personally because then you're in a position where under the way the current rental regulations go, if you're in section, particularly if you're using section 8 housing, if you happen to, the whole purpose of attainable housing is to allow somebody to improve their lot in life. And if they do that, they lose their housing. It's crazy because if you start to earn more than 80% of well, it depends on how it's set up, either 60 or 80% of average median income, you're no longer qualifying. You can no longer live in that house. They actually kick you out. You have to leave. So that's why I think I'm going to prefer personally that model, but this is the thing that this group would help us work out.
Got it. Thank you. I just want to reiterate that we can't forget about short-term rentals. We don't even know how many we have because we have no resolution, or we have no regulation that really enforces the notion of registering or paying a fee. So I really think we need work on the short-term housing issue as well, along with.
I absolutely agree, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that is the major reason for the problem of housing in Northport. The problem is land and housing here is so valuable like I said, I tried very hard to find a house in Northport or closer, or at least with a Northport address. I found it very difficult to do so. And I had a decent income and a substantial down payment that I could make. Either those houses were snapped up quicker than I could get them, make an offer, or they were just out of my range of affordability. And so Northport has a particular, in fact, I was talking to some folks down in Sutton's Bay just recently. And they said, it used to be Sutton's Bay was the cool place and the expensive place to live. It's now Northport.
Yeah,
It's,
and that's something to be, in a way, if we're the cool place to live,
Point of
that's
order,
something
we-
to be proud of.
Can we get a motion on the table?
Sure.
It's, I think everybody's, I think we're beating a dead horse here, and I don't think anybody's opposed to this. Should I make a motion? Would you entertain, Mr. President, a motion for a resolution to explore a joint township/village planning and housing commission to explore workforce housing?
Second.
All right, thanks, Will. It's moved by Will, supported by Dr. Conley to approve the resolution authorizing the exploration of a joint planning and housing commission. Any other further discussion? Okay, here, roll call
No, we
vote
don't
for
need to.
resolutions, or we can
No,
just do.
no,
yeah,
we're not
okay.
spending any money.
Okay,
really.
no money, so just all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nays? All right, the resolution passes. Thank you. Okay, another resolution adopting Leelanau County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
This is just housekeeping. I'll make a motion. We do this every couple of years. It's just pro forma. There's not really anything to talk about here. I will make a motion to adopt for a resolution adopting the Leelanau County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
I think we last did this in 2015.
Have a discussion.
Yep,
Could we just spell Leelanau correctly?
That's what I was gonna say, it's spelled wrong. That's what I was gonna say, in the title.
Oh, well, let's fix that.
it used to be spelled
Lily,
A-W.
no.
In the title of the resolution.
Resolution approving the Lily Na.
Never let the lawyer do the title.
So we have a motion and support.
We do. All in favor of the resolution approving the Leelanau County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Lastly, a resolution to authorize waterfront master plan RFP. That was in the packet. Everybody took a look at it. The RFP was in the packet.
Yeah, only, the deadline for submitting.
Yeah, those will all be
Has to
changed.
be changed.
Those will all be changed, and there'll be some terms and conditions added as well
Okay.
that we just haven't had a chance to put
Who are
out.
we thinking is gonna respond to this?
We're not sure, maybe nobody.
Okay.
But I've got a list of about 6 potential engineering firms.
And
I did get one from, I can't remember the name of the firm, but I believe they did the last expansion of the marina. They were very interested in it, in that, and wanted to make sure they got a copy of the RFP.
And if you'll pardon my lack of preparation for the meeting, what's our budget for this?
There's no budget. This
Well, I
is-
mean, in terms of the, so we're just gonna see what bids come in.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
basically, and again, this is a master plan,
Yeah,
not a plan to actually do any construction.
Execute.
oh, I know.
So we roughly think it might be in the neighborhood of $20,000,
But
but maybe not.
I think that, when I was talking earlier about finance becoming the budget committee and trying to get a sequencing of things, getting the RFP out, so we have this before we build the next year's budget will be one of the
Yeah,
Right.
documents that we'll look at and decide what stays and what gets
Yeah.
put off.
okay.
This just gives us the authority to do it. Originally, I was just gonna issue the RFP because, again, it wasn't spending any money. Then I thought, maybe better not do that. Maybe I ought to get you guys permission.
Well, I'll make a motion for resolution to authorize a waterfront master plan RFP.
Second, with the amended dates.
Yes.
Will, supported by Barb, to approve the waterfront master plan RFP with amended dates. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next up, payment of the bills. Bill sheet. It's in the packet.
It took me a minute to remember, it was 2 months worth. Scrolling through there.
I'd move to approve the payment of the bills in the amount of 132,264.40 when funds become available.
No, I second it.
Oh, that's fine.
You're on all the motions tonight, Ron.
Well, that's why Jan. Just trying to get.
I know, we're almost there, we're almost there, we're almost there. Okay, all in favor, roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Art,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and yes, bills are paid. All right, brings us to our second public comment. Once again, folks will have up to 5 minutes to speak. If you want to raise your hand to be recognized in person or in Zoom, starting now. Daniel.
I would just like to thank the council for supporting the businesses, because even one more customer makes a huge deal to our bottom line, and having to cover payroll during like winter months, being able to extend our shoulder seasons and make Northport businesses more prosperous is a big deal, and thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
Hello, this is Lyndon Johncock.
Yeah, go ahead, Lyndon.
Hello, hi. I'm one of the owners of the Northport Inn, and so I just wanted to voice my opinion in favor of this social district. Our parking lot will be a part of it, and having 3 daughters of our own, and the concerns I'm hearing with safety and policing it, well, that's a vital of importance to us, and what we're looking for in something like this, where we can bring more families to the area. And from the comments that I'm hearing, bringing more families to Northport on the shoulder time periods in the spring and fall. We've got a slew of ideas that we can do with it if we can utilize that parking lot and extend our courtyard. So I'm most definitely in favor of it, but I understand the concerns in policing it and the cleanliness of it. And I just wanted to voice that. And as was mentioned, I also own Williams and Bay Pumping. And so we have portable restrooms and restroom trailers. And so I absolutely have a vested interest in Northport staying clean and inviting. So if I can support in any way that, I'm more than happy to.
Thanks, Lyndon. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mike McMillan, Northport, having lived in a, what do you call it again? The social district, a very successful social district. I'd only encourage you guys to possibly think about branding the cup. So have a common cup, but if there's a slogan or there's something that could be cute and that it can be easily identified that way as well, you brand the cup. So, but without creating any delays for committees. So that'd be my comment.
Township budget too.
If it's really cute.
Cute.
We got plenty of business folks that can help us with that.
Fred, I see you unmuted there.
It's Fred. How are you?
Good.
I have a quick question. I had joined the meeting late. I've been watching a meeting on a lighthouse about the restoration of a boat, a Coast Guard boat. Great program. Anyway, so I haven't been keeping up, but the only question I have tonight is, I've been hearing that we have our electric charging stations there at the restaurant, the public parking lot. And I'm hearing that the village, that the charges this last year were $3,500. I'd like to know who's paying for that.
Somebody can address that in council comment. So, I mean, we have an answer for you, but we don't want to do it back and forth.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing you tonight again, so anyway, if the general fund is paying for that, it started out that, a businessman was gonna pay those charges. But, that was the first year and I haven't heard anything since, so if that's coming out of the general fund to pay that, I heard it was $3,500 last year. That it would seem to me that the business district should be paying that because it was put in there with the idea that anybody that comes to Charger is gonna spend $100 shopping in Northport to help pay the electric bill, so I'd like to hear some ongoing conversation on that. Thank you.
Fred,
Thanks,
there's a
Fred.
good answer to that, and I
We
think,
can't, no, we can't answer.
Susan, you out of order.
sorry, I know you're not supposed to answer, but I thought I'd tell him he'd answer, get an answer later.
We'll cover it in council comment.
Any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to council comment. Any council comment? Laura?
I'll let Laura go first.
I have some council comment. Yes, so previously the chargers have been coming out of the general fund, which is why that was brought, and we've had it at infrastructure. The first 4 years it was covered by Luna Energy, but it has turned over where it has been being covered by the general fund, which was a concern of ours on infrastructure. So we've been discussing it for, I think, at least 4 months. And we have a plan where now businesses are going to be covering that cost. And we are working on that and going to have that funding in place by July. And we'll be doing that yearly from as long as it works. So that is something that we are working on changing so that it is not coming out of the general fund. And then I do have another comment, which is just, I wanted to agree with Susan that I also really do want to be sure that the short-term rental task force is moving forward. I realize didn't bring it up during the joint just because I think that's also very important and we need to get that going so that we don't lose opportunities for grants, but I still do want to be sure that we are getting that going as soon as we can. Thanks.
Well, I'll leave the short-term rental thing alone for now. Just as a council, I comment, I wanted to, when I was a kid growing up in a small town that wasn't always a suburb, it used to be all by itself out in the prairie, before the city grew around it, Hinsdale, Illinois. When we had our centennial, sesquicentennial, or whatever it was when I was growing up, it was a big deal. And we got our 175th anniversary this summer for Northport. It might be a little late. I didn't realize it, but maybe we could think about this. It's March, the tourists are here. Do something like maybe decorate the tree with 175 years of Northport, or maybe even do a promotion, a mug or something that would raise money for a cause. I'm just thinking out loud here. These are not necessarily good ideas, but it's a big deal. And secondly, as far as the slogan for the cups that Mike suggested, and we had one, the famous bar that's no longer here, Woody's, right at the top of the menu, said Northport, a drinking town with a boating problem. I think, I'm not being serious. I know I'll probably get slammed for saying it, but yeah, but that was at one point considered quite the joke around here. All right, that's what I have.
Susan?
First, I'd like to thank Lyndon for coming, and it's exciting to hear that you're talking about, using maybe part of your parking lot for part of the social district. That's exciting. I'd also encourage you to support Leelanau Uncaged, which I think books your hotel a year in advance. Secondly, what was I going to say secondly? I don't remember. If it comes to me, I'll pitch up.
All right, any other council comments? Okay,
I move to adjourn.
we're adjourned.
Your hands feeling